attacking, feeding Boyle, scores! Short-handed goal, Robert Morris. What a beauty of a play.
And welcome to Colonial Sports Center. I'm your host, Greg Sutton. Alongside me tonight, Tyler Gallo.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. We have a full slate of sports tonight. We got some volleyball, some soccer, and some hockey. And we have a special guest in the studio. Daniel Mantenuto from the men's hockey team sits alongside Jon Hanna.
And also, we're going to be starting off the show as we always do in the fall semester. We're going to talk about some football, but tonight we have a very special football analyst, Nick Hedrick, here, who's going to sit down with me after we talk about the last week's game, and we're going to kind of see what he's expecting from this upcoming game. So why don't we jump into that last game Robert Morris had? With Robert Morris football still winless through their first 3 games of the season, they traveled to our neighbors to the south, to Virginia. They went to take the field of battle against the Virginia Military Institute last Saturday. VMI has won 2 of their 3 first matchups. Now to see if the Colonials could defeat the Keydets on the field of battle in Lexington, Virginia. And as you can see here, the Colonials finally grabbed their first victory of the season, and it was 31-21 over the Keydets. Caleb Lewis led the way with 12 completions on his 17 attempts, 214 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Elijah Jackson coming through yet again with those 20 attempts running, 125 yards, scoring a touchdown of his own. While on the other side of the ball for the Keydets, Reese Udinsky went 30 for 51, 274 yards, 1 touchdown, and their running back, Alex Ramsey, 24 attempts, 153 yards, 1 touchdown. And now I'm joined by our very own football analyst, Nick Hedrick. Nick, thanks for coming on tonight.
Well, thanks, Greg. It's great to be here with you after you left us last semester. I never thought I'd get to share the screen with you again, but it's obviously great to be here.
Well, I'm glad I can make your dreams come true, Nick. So why don't we jump right into this upcoming week?
Let's.
So what do you think Elijah Jackson's going to be able to do in this upcoming game against Youngstown State University?
Well, I'm really intrigued to see what happens here. He had 146 yards against Dayton, 125 against VMI, and it seemed as the season started, him and Terrence Stevens were going to be splitting time, and Stevens still does get his fair share of carries, but it seems like Jackson's the go-to guy now. He's been able to break big tackles. He makes the first man miss a lot. He has 3 touchdowns this year. He has some big rushes. A really good game against Dayton minus a fumble. But this Youngstown State rush defense is really good. They're 25th in the FCS right now, only 110 rush yards per game. It's hard to predict what he's going to do, but I'm saying over 80 but less than 100 yards for Elijah Jackson.
I mean, that's a fair prediction for him. So we've seen a lot of split time between the quarterbacks here at Robert Morris. Who do you think gets the first snap of the game out in Youngstown?
Well, Greg, I'm not a football coach. I never have been, and I probably never will be. And I'm not sure why Caleb Lewis started last week after George Martin had arguably the best game of his career against Dayton, a game where we saw him throw a lot more. He looked a lot more comfortable. Up until the end of the game, he really had no major mistakes up until when he took a sack and then threw an interception in back-to-back plays. So I'm not sure what really happened there with why Coach Clark did this. Obviously, he's a football coach. I'm not. I'm not going to speculate on why he did that. But I think that we're going to see Caleb Lewis. They won their first game of this season with Lewis behind center, and I think they will stick with what works.
Okay, and I can't agree with you more. It's exactly what you have to do after starting the season 0-3. You have to stick with what's going on well in the field. So my next question for you, Nick, is who are the players to watch on each side of the ball?
I think we have Mason Gray on defense. He has 38 tackles. That leads the Colonials right now. Havon Price, also a guy to watch. Don't worry, I'm not going to have 3, only 2. He's another guy to watch, though, on defense. He's always around the ball. And if we go back to Gray really quick, he had 3 pass deflections last game. So obviously he finds his way to the ball as well, knocks the ball down, makes sure other receivers are not capable of making the plays they need to make. My other player to watch on the offensive side of the ball is Matthew Gonzalez. Against Buffalo, he had no receptions. Against Kentucky State, he was out of the game. I'm not sure why. My intel's not that good.
Yeah, I told everybody that was my player to watch.
And I remember. We were at that game.
Yeah, exactly.
We were both at that game. We were both bamboozled. And But then we see him against Dayton. He gets his first touchdown of the year, has a really big game in terms of receiving. Last week, I believe he had over 100 yards. I think Matthew Gonzalez is your offensive player to watch. In terms of receiving the ball, he's the guy you need to locate. He's the guy, if you're Caleb Lewis, who I think will be starting, he's the guy you need to find when, you know, the pocket collapses. He's big. He's able to make grabs. One grab I saw him make in that Dayton game, Martin led him way too far, and is the camera ready for this? The ball's coming right here, and Gonzalez reaches out way over here and grabs it. That would have been a pick if it wasn't for, you know, the wherewithal of Gonzalez to know what's going on. I think Matthew Gonzalez is a guy that needs to play well for this offense to succeed.
All right, Nick, so I'm going to hit you with 2 questions back-to-back, rapid-fire time. I know, right? Caught you off guard. So what are your keys to the game? And I need a prediction for you for this weekend.
They need to stop the rush. They absolutely need to stop the rush. YSU had 7 guys get carries last game. They're averaging 309 yards per game on the ground. RMU's defense is allowing 206 per game. Last year they allowed 260 per game. Those are both towards the bottom in terms of, you know, rush yards per game allowed. Get stars involved. They need to go through the guys like Gonzalez. They need to go through the Elijah Jacksons. They need quarterbacks like Caleb Lewis to be trusted to make plays. And then finally, mix it up. Against Dayton, they had 42 pass plays and 33 rush plays, and it worked really well. They scored, they moved the ball with ease. And then against last week against VMI, they had 17 pass plays and 40 rush plays. And I'm not sure, obviously it worked though as they won the game, but I think mixing it up against a team against Youngstown State, who I don't think the Colonials have a lot of, you know, faith in beating, I think that's what they need to do if they want to find success.
And the final score, what is it?
Youngstown State wins. I'm going to go 38-18. I'm not sure how they got 18. Don't quote me on that. They got a safety. They will get a safety.
All right, I believe you.
Robert Morris will get a safety.
Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate all the insight. Now we'll jump back over to the desk to Tyler Gallo.
Thank you for that hard-hitting analysis, Nick. We will get right into women's hockey here on Saturday. Women's hockey hosted the Concordia University Singers in an exhibition match at the Island. It was the team's first action of the season. Let's take a look at that one. So picking up action in the first period, Colonials and Stingers. Audrey Belzile breaks into the zone and gets a quick shot off, and it somehow eludes Ariel DeSmet for the first goal of the game. That one looked confusing there. And then Colonials on the power play. JC Gebhardt drags it, fires it, and scores. What a goal that was. Look at this move. Fires it right past the goaltender. And then here's another one, a redirection in front, and we'll get right into the second period. 2-1, Concordia leads it. And then there's Marie-Pascale Bernier going right over the shoulder of Ariel DeSmet to make it 3-1, and then 4-1 here. Great setup by J.C. Gebhardt to Boyle, and she scores, and it's 4-2 now. And then in the third period, Dubois breaks into the zone for Concordia, gets a nice backhander in on DeSmet, and it's 5-2. And then the next goal for the Colonials, as it's 5-2 here. Lexi Templeman gets a nice shot off, and that makes it 5-4. That would be the final score of the game. The Colonials could not muster up a comeback, but look at this goal by Templeman. 5-4 your final. The Colonials lose their first action of the season.
All right, so when we come back, we have to talk about the Red and White Invitational that the volleyball team just competed in. They've started their season 10-0 through their first 10 matches. Would they be able to keep it up?
No, we will take a look at that. And we also have a special guest in the studio with Jon Hanna, as we mentioned before, Daniel Mantenuto from the men's hockey team. We'll come back after the break.
I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look! And welcome back to Colonial Sports Center here on RMU-TV. Now, after the undefeated start to the season, the Colonials were back on the road to play in the Youngstown State University Red and White Invitational. In their first match of not only the day, but of the weekend, Robert Morris was slated to take on the host of the tournament, the Youngstown State University Penguins. Let's head to Youngstown State to see if the results were what Robert Morris was looking for. Colonials Penguins, here we get to see Youngstown. Great play here, awesome volley, and a great play here by Youngstown, who will get the kill. Oh, there's a block, my apologies. I misread that one. A block there by Robert Morris. The score is now 12-10 point there to Youngstown, 13-12 here in the first set. And a big block by YSU. Now we'll jump into the second set of play. Robert Morris ended up losing that first set, where YSU is moving the ball around very efficiently, and that one will be blocked but out of bounds, unfortunately, for Robert Morris. And now Youngstown's leading 8-5 in this set. Another kill attempt, but it will bounce out of bounds off of YSU. Point to Robert Morris. They lost the second set as well. Now it's do or die time for Robert Morris, and that's a point for Youngstown. Youngstown State up 5-4. Tight game here in the third match. A must win for Robert Morris, but now we'll get to see the dagger in the match. YSU up over the top, kill, and eventually the ball would fall out of bounds, and that would be the dagger that cost RMU the game. The Colonials were swept for the first time of the season in 3-0.
Yeah, volleyball's second game of the tournament was against Central Michigan, and they were looking to bounce back from that sweep in that set to try to at least put up a fight in this one. They didn't win a set in the first match, and Central Michigan had already beaten Eastern Illinois in their first match. Let's take you to that one. Fortunately, they got 3-0'd yet again, this time by the Chippewas. Kalina Smith with 21 kills and 10 digs for the Chippewas. Anna Erickson with 10 kills, and Kendall Brate with 29 assists for Central Michigan. Emma Granger led the way with 10 kills for RMU. Whitney Brown with another 28 assists, putting up those high assist numbers for the team, and Nicolette Zanoli with 10 digs for the Colonials in that game.
In the final day of the Invitational, the Colonials were slated to take on the Eastern Illinois Panthers. The Panthers and the Colonials have both been held to 0 wins in the Invitational, and this match would allow one team to head home with a win under their belt and sending the other team home winless. While the Colonials were lossless up to the start of the weekend, the Panthers were still searching for their first win. Let's see who came out on top. The Panthers were able to clinch their first win of their season, 3-2 over the Colonials. The match went all 5 sets. The Panthers had Lauren Bailey, 19 kills, 16 digs. Bailey Chandler, my apologies, 45 assists. Madison Cunningham, 26 digs. And on the Robert Morris side of the net, Lauren Kolonik, 16 kills, 12 digs. Whitney Brown, 40 assists, 15 digs, and Erica Wilt had 27 digs in the match. Robert Morris going home with not only their first loss of the season, but also 3 consecutive to start off their losing streak. And now, we'll jump over to Jon Hanna, who's sitting down with Daniel Mantenuto.
Thanks, Greg. As you said, I'm here with Daniel Mantenuto, a senior forward from the men's hockey team. And just to give the folks at home a little teaser before we cut to break, what did you do over the summer to get ready for this upcoming season?
Yeah, usually after the season ends, I go home for 3 or 4 months. I've been working out and training with the trainer for the past 6 to 7 years. So usually go back, meet with him. We put together a program for the off season, both in the gym and on the ice, and we just kind of get after it right away, try to get bigger, stronger, faster, put on muscle again, and then try to just tweak and learn new skills. So that's kind of what my summer looked like.
And then what do you see your role as for this upcoming year?
Being an older guy on the team, I think I'm coming in, I want to be a leader on this team. I see myself as one of the leaders, one of the go-to guys, but whatever the coaches ask me and whatever the coach's role is to help this team win, and whatever they see best to help this team win a championship is what my role will be.
Well, coming up after the break, I'm going to continue asking Daniel here a couple more questions, including a nice accolade he got for this upcoming season, right now, after the break.
Hey, Dad, I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the
Oh,
waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out?
Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
And welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. I'm Jon Hanna, joined by Daniel Mantenuto of the men's hockey team. Before the break, I sort of teased that you were awarded an accolade. You were named the captain, one of the 3 captains for this upcoming year. How does that leadership role play into your role as a senior? And then this team has 17 freshmen and sophomores. How is that dealing with a much younger team?
Yeah, it's obviously and always an honor to be named a captain of any team, especially with a team that has a history like we do. Just guiding the younger guys, we've been through it all. Me and Luke played 3 years now, so we are 4th, and Nick's this is 3rd. So we kind of know what it's like to play a full college hockey season. We know what the grind is, what the process is kind of like, just getting to the rink every day, going on the road. So it's just kind of talking to them about it, getting them familiar with the whole process, getting them accustomed to being around the guys and the rink and the coaches and the travel schedule and all that. So it's just kind of helping out wherever you can, just kind of giving them tips and pointers, and just trying to make them feel as comfortable as they can.
And then you mentioned the difficulty switching from or getting used to the college life. What was one of the things that really threw you for a wrench when you started your freshman year here?
Yeah, so when I played junior hockey, I lived at home, so it was kind of new, just me living on my own, so that's always tough for guys, especially when they're far away from home. And we have guys from BC and Alberta that are freshmen this year. Other than that, it's just kind of balancing school, hockey, and then your life outside the rink and the classroom. So it's just kind of making sure they're always feeling at home and feeling like they like to be here and they're just enjoying themselves.
And then what happened last year? You made it to the semifinals against AIC, losing in overtime. Just walk me through sort of that regular season and overtime.
Yeah, regular season was kind of up and down, but that's kind of expected when you have 11 freshmen like we did. We just couldn't find a groove, and we couldn't get on a little roll. But then towards the end of the year, I think we just came together. We bought in a little bit more. We kind of figured out our identity, and from there we kind of got on that roll. And heading into playoffs, we came together and did really well. We started a little win streak, and then we got to the semifinals where we ended up losing in overtime. I think we all believed we were going to win that game. Unfortunately, we didn't, but that's the way it plays out in a one-game elimination. So coming back this year, we're hungrier than ever.
And then speaking of this year, you guys were picked to finish 7th in the Atlantic Hockey Coaches Poll. That was where you finished in the regular season last year, but you just mentioned that big playoff run. Do you agree with that, or you guys are looking to make it a record 7th straight semifinal appearance?
Yeah, I personally disagree with the seventh place placement, but I mean that's for the coaches to decide and predict. I believe we're a much better team than that, and that's for us to show. There's one thing to talk about it, but we got to go out there and prove it. I think we can be a top 4, top 2 team in this league. Our goal is to get home ice advantage and then go back to that conference tournament and win it this time. Our senior class has been there 3 times, so this is our year to win it.
And then you mentioned the new team, but you guys lost some key players last year. You know, Francis Murat, Alex Tonge, Michael Loria, Eric Israel, and last year's captain Brandon Watt. How are you going to deal with the loss of those key players?
Yeah, we lost a lot, both off the ice and in terms of on-ice production, but it just gives an opportunity for more guys to step up and have an even bigger role this year. I think all the sophomores you can see them, they've taken a bigger step from this summer and just learning from their freshman year what a college hockey season is like. So you can tell they've gotten better throughout practices. Juniors, seniors, we all just got to take a step up now. We got to be those guys.
Well, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. And we're going to send it back over to the desk now with Tyler Gallo.
Thanks, John, and thanks again, Daniel, for coming here. With that being said, we will throw it right into women's soccer. On Thursday, the women's soccer team traveled to Akron, Ohio for a match against the Akron Zips, who were 2-5 coming into today. It was senior day for the Zips, and the Colonials were looking to spoil that for them. The Colonials lost TL 2-1 in their previous contest. They were looking to head into the NEC season with a win. Well, they got shut out 1-0 by the Zips. 2 shots for Brittany O'Connell, Kayla Velso-Lima with 1 shot, and Sydney Bruckner made 6 saves for the Colonials, but they were held scoreless in this match. Carly Pacholinski for Akron scored the goal. Ashley Amato with 4 shots, and Aislinn Meany with 3 shots for the Zips with a 1-0 final score. A tough loss for the Colonials in this one.
And after being shut out in their game against the Akron Zips, the Colonials were back on the hunt for a win Sunday at home at the North Athletic Complex. Their opponent would be the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers. The Mount has only scratched 1 win in the win column this year, and Robert Morris is still sitting with 2 wins on their season. With this being the first Northeast Conference game, both teams were searching for the right start in conference play. Colonials were able to clinch the win 1-0 in the 90-minute contest. Elizabeth Rockhill for the Mountaineers had 4 shots. Jasmine McCree, 1 shot. In their attendee for the evening, Maggie Barron had 7 saves. Now for Robert Morris, Kayla Velso-Lima had 1 goal, the lone goal in the game. Sophie Lean I apologize, had 4 shots on the night, and Sydney Bruckner had 4 saves to keep the Colonials perfect in the game, and that would be their first win of conference play.
That's right, Greg, and we just talked about women's soccer, but let's throw it over to the men's. After being held scoreless in their previous 2 games against Longwood University and Duquesne University, the men's soccer team hosted Howard University. Both teams were trying to get their 2nd win of the season. This was also the Colonials' non-conference finale. And they tied 1-1. Both teams could not record their 2nd win of the season in this one. Andres Gomez scored the only goal for Howard, Ethan Persad with the assist, and Emery Simon with 11 saves for the Bison. And then Matt Shillo with a goal for the Colonials, Christian Cordon with the assist, and Mike Zolnerchek with 3 saves for the Colonials in this one as they tied, could not scratch out that win.
And now, let's go from the pitch to the fairway. Robert Morris Golf competed in the NKU Fall Collegiate Classic. After the first day contest, Robert Morris sat in 10th place at 39 strokes over par and ended the entire invitational at 55 over par and finished in 10th place in the field of competitors. RMU Golf will be back in action in October 7th and 8th in Westlake, Ohio. And now, Tyler, when we come back, we're going to be talking about both of the games to watch that we both decided and also the games that are upcoming this week.
That is correct, Ray. We will see you after the break.
I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the
waters.
waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all of warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on, man, let's split a ride home.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look! And welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. Now it's time for me and Tyler Gallo's Games of the Week. And once again, my Game of the Week will be Robert Morris football as they travel to Youngstown State University. Youngstown State has been a nightmare for Robert Morris since the two teams started playing each other in 2015. The Colonials have lost all 3 appearances against the Penguins. The player to keep your eye on for YSU is their starting quarterback, Nathan Mays. Mays has had 2 rushing touchdowns and has thrown for a total of 437 yards and 4 touchdowns. Then, on the Colonial side of the ball, Robert Morris has its own weapon, Elijah Jackson, in the red, white, and blue to watch. Jackson has 361 yards on the ground and has scored a total of 3 touchdowns. Look out for this game Saturday with kickoff at 6 p.m. Watch out on ESPN+.
Well, yeah, yours is on the turf. Mine is on the hardwood floor. I'm going over to volleyball for this one, as it's going to be their first NEC game of the season, and it's a matchup against 1-6 Merrimack College. This is the first time the Colonials will face the newest NEC member. Merrimack just added this season, and coming off a tough sweep at the Youngstown State Invitational, where they only won 2 sets in that tournament, both against Eastern Illinois, they will be poised to prove that their 10-0 start was not a fluke, and they will definitely be hungry to win this one. It would also be pretty interesting to see how Merrimack, the new team, is. There's going to definitely be some growing pains down. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle that game.
And absolutely. And while we're talking about our games to watch, let's see what else coming up in this next week with RMU Athletics. I know there's a bit of a dead spot middle of next week. I don't think there's anything after Sunday or Monday, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, that's correct. You know, on Friday, men's soccer, Mount St. Mary's big NEC matchup at 3:30 p.m. And then volleyball, Merrimack, as I mentioned before, first game against them. And then women's hockey at 7:05 at the Island will take on Union College.
And Saturday, September 28th, women's hockey again against Union, doubleheader of the weekend. It's getting ready to start up, Tyler.
That's going to be an interesting
series. I was talking to Daniel before the show, and he said it's really weird not to have an exhibition before the season starts. And that is something you really don't see. It's in the middle of the season, which is going to be interesting to see how they transition from a scored regular season game back to an exhibition, just kind of get a little bit of practice. But then Sunday, they're going to be playing a couple more games over there, and it's going to be exciting for this weekend to watch. But now, I know you're a big hockey guy.
That's correct.
What do you think of Robert Morris men's hockey being ranked 7th in the preseason poll?
I honestly think it's a bit misleading there. You know, they did really well in the playoffs last year, made it to the semifinals, of course, lost in overtime, but I think it's a bit of a misleading number. I think they can probably prove people wrong this year. They got a pretty good team.
But what do you think, if anything, what do you think put them in that spot comparatively higher, like 2 or 3 in the league?
I honestly think it was just the way they stepped up towards the end of the season. I mean, they were struggling in the end of their regular season play, and then they went into the playoffs and really turned it on against some pretty tough competition. So if they can maybe gel together as they start the season, you know, it's a young team. There's some new guys, a lot of seniors leaving. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how they do this year.
And I honestly think the reason why they were ranked so low is that loss of so much experience on the team. With a lot of newer guys coming into a program, it's always kind of hard to adjust. It's always going to be kind of exciting to see how those younger players can fill the shoes of the guys that just left, and how the guys that have been there for 3 years now stepping up into this final season of play, like Daniel Mantenuto getting awarded the captain this year. It's going to be interesting to see how he can kind of fuel his younger teammates there and kind of push for that postseason and maybe finally clinch that championship when they've been looking for a while.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, and it's one of my favorite things to say, but with a new team, with a lot of new players, there's going to be growing pains. I've said this before, I'll say it 100 more times. And it's going to be, once again, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how they gel together, and it's going to be a pretty exciting season for them, I hope.
And now the one thing that I am worried about, though, is with that much experience leaving, as Francis Marat not being here anymore, it's going to be crazy to see how the Robert Morris defense can adapt to a new goaltender in the net.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, though, we appreciate you tuning in tonight, and we will see you again next week here on Colonial Sports Center.